Hi everyone. Got a packed house tonight. This is great. It is 6:01 p.m. I call to order the Concord Carlisle Regional School District School Committee meeting to order.
I'll call the Concord School Committee to order.
And we're going to jump right into the CCHS student update in the interest of time for the students or student.
Hi everyone. Yeah, it's just me tonight. Felicity and Zaria unfortunately could not make it.
All right, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay. Can everyone see this before I begin?
You can.
Okay. I'm going to take that as yes. Okay, perfect. So recently we had prom this past Saturday, and that was a really great event. We were at the Boston Marriott Copley Place, and it was a really nice venue, and it was a really fun night for everyone. And that was mostly juniors and seniors, so it was my first time going, and it was really fun. And then also recently, last night, we had the NHS Class of 2026 induction at the high school in the auditorium. That was also a really great ceremony, and we had Felicity actually spoke there, as she was the president last year of NHS for her class, and she spoke on one of the 4 pillars of NHS. And then we also had 3 other officers, Mr. Panucci, who's a physics teacher, and Mr. Miller, and of course Ms. Slocum, who's the head of NHS at the school. So that was a really exciting induction for me and a lot of other of my classmates. And things that are ongoing right now is AP testing should have wrapped up last Friday, but unfortunately there was, I believe, a malfunction with College Board regarding the AP Psych exam. So I know a few people are going to be making that up this Friday, and that'll mark the official end of the AP season, I believe. And also ongoing is MCAS, which is happening today and tomorrow for sophomores. And upcoming, seniors have a really big next couple of weeks ahead of them. They have their last day of class this Thursday, and then senior week the following week, which I believe we talked about last week, but they're going to be going on some fun trips, like going to Six Flags, the amusement park. So I'm pretty jealous, and that sounds really fun. And their graduation is May 31st. And I think that's everything for my update. Thank you all.
That's great. Thank you. Any questions for Maddie?
Thanks, Maddie. Thank you, Maddie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Tonight we did have, before we get into recognitions, just keeping on the theme of CCHS, we did have one ask from Andrew. Andrew, do you want to say something?
Yes. So I think this month has been really challenging for CCHS community and really the broader Concord and Carlisle communities. As part of the school committee, I felt that we are really united in our appreciation and have a lot of gratitude for all the support that we've gotten and the school has gotten from our residents, neighboring towns. Other school committees have reached out, partners, teachers, administrators. It's been amazing. I think there's too many people to thank individually on behalf of the district. However, in working with our chairs, I think there's a small group of, call it like frontline crisis management administrators that have really provided excellent leadership during this time. These individuals work through their school vacation. Some of them literally left their vacations to come back to Concord to get a plan together, get communications, coordinate efforts, everything. It's just unbelievable. And I just wanted to mention those 7 people by name. That's Dan Simone, Allison Nowicki, Amy Greer, Megan Maines, principals Brian Miller, Katie Stahl, and of course, Dr. Hunter. And I've been thinking how we can really show our appreciation. And so working with Bob, I wanted to put a motion to the committee for consideration. And that would be, I move to approve $25,817, which is the equivalent of 5 days per diem for days worked during April vacation and what would have been paid time off for these individuals. And wanted to bring that to discussion.
I'm going to second that.
Thank you. Any discussion, or I think we should vote on that?
What account is that coming out of?
Probably
I mean, I don't have $25,000, so
we have.
the school committee has an account, or?
It would come out of the line it would be charged to is the regular salary account that they're
Okay.
charged to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have it in the budget to do it.
Okay,
Yep,
that's all I wanted to- yeah,
for sure.
This is all, we're going to talk about the CPS budget. This is the high school budget.
Understood.
Yeah.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I just That's extraordinary. I feel like I might cry. That's really lovely. I think these gestures are so important. I remember after the eclipse, we did it a little bit differently, but there was a private group of parents that raised money, and I think we got them gift cards. And I just, in all of the hubbub, I didn't think of something like this. So I commend you for doing that, Andrew. And I think that's really spectacular. So I know we voted and discussion's over, but.
I know, can I just add one more thing too? Sorry, Julie, you made us vote too quickly.
Yeah.
But I just really want to show gratitude towards Dr. Hunter, because really what no one knows is that she was in it at 1:30 in the morning. So she was really in it from the very beginning. So I certainly appreciate that on a personal level and also a professional level. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I know that will be very well appreciated. It's been a long month, and I think folks could use a little reinforcing right now.
I asked for it, but I think it's
Yeah,
important.
thank you.
Agreed. Carrie, you want to introduce the recognitions, the Ed Fund?
Sure. But do the members of the Ed Fund want to come up? Each year we invite them to a meeting to kind of give us an overview of the grants that have come through.
Typically, we talk about the grants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah, we'd love to do
Love
it. Come on up.
Thanks. So I'm Bill Stone.
Greg Legault.
And that works as well.
So we're co-chairs of the Grants Committee of the Concord Ed Fund. So we just wanted to kind of talk to you guys. This is kind of our favorite time of the year because we get to talk about what we do. Over the last 30 years, the Ed Fund's raised over $3 million to give away for innovative learning all across the district. This year, we were able to award $70,000 on 18 grants. We typically have anywhere from mid-teens to mid-20s in the number of grants. Some of the trends include us. We get applications from all across the district, all the elementary schools, middle school, high school, CIPS, launch program, all across the district. This year, the grants, we typically have them come through three different types, three different categories. Wellness and mental health is one. Outdoor and innovative ways of learning is the other. And innovative and scientific ways of learning. We had grants all across there, so we had a really, really good year. Most of our committees back here, so thank you all. They put in tireless work, raising money, going through grants, meeting with faculty, staff. So they've done a great job. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you.
Just sincere gratitude. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
problem.
What you guys do is so important for our community.
There's a lot, yeah. So we'd like to present you guys with a very big check.
Yeah, fun.
Awesome.
You take a picture with Lori? Whole committee or just?
Maybe just Lori.
Usually we do a little photo op.
Yeah, with the big check.
Absolutely.
You wore the good pants to match the apple.
Can you guys go over there? You guys go over there. Then you can all fit. Sorry. And if you don't know about the Ed Fund, please check them out online. And there's always a time to give to the Ed Fund. So thank you for your tireless work.
Or a balloon for your senior.
Oh yeah, balloons for seniors are coming up right now. A little tighter.
Maybe a little up.
There you go.
All right.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
And for those of you that don't know, sometimes it's a 6-year commitment on the Ed Fund. So thank you for your 6 years of service to the district. Thank you, Bill Stone. I think you're finishing up this year.
We have one other recognition for tonight, and so tonight is our last meeting for 3 of our members, Cynthia Rainey, Alexa Anderson, and Julie Viola. So we have a little gift. Someone wants to help me just exit.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So cute.
Oh.
So
Very thoughtful, thank you.
this is
Yeah, thank you.
just a very small excuse me, token of our community, our committee's appreciation to all of you for your endless hours, heart, and contribution to the schools and the overall committee. So thank you very much. It's not an easy job, and it's very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I think you should open the bags there for future possibilities.
Oh, yay!
There we go.
Lovingly made by our students.
Show this.
To my CC collection. Those are
Nice.
great.
This is great.
Amazing.
Love it.
And if you're unfamiliar with Concord Possibilities,
Oh, yes.
it's on Sudbury Road, and it's run by our launch program.
Very nice.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
What are their hours again?
9 to 2,
Yeah.
Monday through Friday.
Excellent.
Great to go to on a half day Wednesday.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
Um,
Actually, can I just request from the chairs if people have a few words to say?
Absolutely.
About
Yeah.
Julie or Cynthia or Alexa?
I would love to offer some words to say goodbye to our Carlisle chair, Miss Viola. On behalf of the committee, I want to thank Julie for her leadership this year. Who joins a committee and in year 1 knocks it out of the park? Apparently Julie Viola. She is this extraordinary combination of someone who has this like analytical, brilliant mind, but it's paired with the heart of an actual empath. And on top of that, she's totally fearless, willing to put herself out there with this naked and total honest vulnerability that I so admire, and I think we have all, every one of us have seen this year. So I first met Julie when she was a guest at the Concord Chairs Breakfast. I think you were invited to discuss something Carlisle related, I don't remember. Julie did not appear particularly friendly. She seemed pretty aloof, and if we're being honest, I'm going to swear in my last meeting, she frankly scared the shit out of me. So I was skeptical when I learned that she was coming to the region. But when she arrived, she could not have been more open and warm and engaging. She was willing to learn, she was willing to hear and digest and process all of our diverse perspectives. She rolled up her sleeves on day 1 and dove in. She leaned in a way that I think Sheryl Sandberg wouldn't have even been able to describe in her stupid book that I didn't even read. That is to say, Julie, in my mind, is one of a million. She has always kept the best interests of our community at heart in all of her decision making. Concord and Carlisle are losing, in my opinion, one of the absolute best school committees we've seen in decades. And I hope, sincerely, it's not the last we see you, girlfriend. So again, thank you to Julie on behalf of all of us.
Thank you very much. Very kind.
Okay, so I would like to thank my friend and colleague, Alexa Anderson. I had to write it down because it's a hard goodbye. I want to start by thanking Alexa for her time on the Concord and Concord Carlisle school committees. She has embraced this role with extraordinary dedication, tireless effort, and a steadfast commitment to the success and well-being of all students and residents in Concord, Carlisle, and Boston. As chair of the Concord School Committee, she's demonstrated her ability to lead with integrity, collaboration, and vision, and at times doing this with tremendous personal sacrifice. Balancing the needs of students, teachers, parents, the district, and the community is challenging. It can be challenging to balance the voices of the community while ensuring that we're focused on the work of the school committee. We're elected to do this, and we do take this very seriously. One of Alexa's most admirable qualities is her unwavering commitment to the mental health and well-being of our students. She understands that academic success begins with ensuring that students feel supported emotionally, and she has championed efforts to expand mental health resources and support systems within our schools. Alexa has consistently worked to maintain excellence in our district while advocating for the evolving needs of our students. Alexa's work extends far beyond what's seen during the school committee meetings or what's reported in the paper. I think Cato knows really what the role of the school committee is, and I'm usually in it with the two of them. The role requires endless hours of analyzing data, preparing for meetings, scrutinizing budgets, and even writing grants on behalf of our students. Alexa has dug into these tasks tirelessly, always striving to ensure that every decision made reflects the priorities of our schools and communities. I personally witnessed the dedication, time, and commitment that she's brought to the Concord School Committee. She's done this work with grace and integrity. Over the past few years, nationally, there's been a focus on school committees. School committees have been politicized, and one of the first rules of the school committee is to not play politics. Alexa has led our committee with honesty, integrity, and a commitment to all of our students, and she's always prioritized our students while listening to the needs of parents and community members. Her collaborative efforts have reached beyond our district. She established a Chairs Roundtable. I know this isn't exciting things, but it really is important to bring other leaders together from 9 area school districts to share best practices and develop solutions to shared educational and financial challenges. Her leadership has been widely recognized. As chair of the Concord School Committee, she was instrumental in adding METCO representation to our school committee. We were the 4th district out of 33 member districts to add this representation. She played a key role in onboarding our new representatives, meeting them for coffee in Boston, hosting dinner before a football game, and doing frequent check-ins to make sure the representation was successful. During Alexa's tenure in the school committee, we've had some challenges. She joined the school committee in the height of COVID, with weekly school committee meetings that sometimes they were as long as 5 hours. And by the way, when she asked me to run, she said, "Oh, it's like 5 hours a week." And I watched the first meeting and I was like, that first meeting was 5 hours. It is not 5 hours a week. Let me be really clear about that. The school committee has also faced some internal challenges, and under the leadership, the school committee has had has become a high functioning body with clear protocols and goals focused on student achievement and operational excellence. Alexis worked tirelessly on behalf of our pre-K to 22 students and residents of Concord, Carlisle, and Boston. Her leadership, dedication, and collaborative spirit have made a significant and lasting impact on our schools and community. I will miss Alexa on this committee, and this is our loss to our school community. No one has worked harder on behalf of our students, teachers, and administrators. I thank you for your time and your great personal sacrifice to advocate for the needs of students, teachers, and parents. You will be missed, but your leadership and work will be long-lasting and something that future school committees should aspire to. Thank you. It's Therese.
Thank you. I feel like I was only here for a year, so I appreciate you saying that. I was not expecting that. I was going to recognize both you, Alexa, and you, Cynthia. Cynthia, you've been here for quite some time. I've appreciated just meeting both of you. It's a lot, especially coming from Carlisle. I will speak as not only as a chair, but just as a Carlisle representative, only being on the Carlisle school committee for a year and then coming here. It's a totally different world over here. I was told the same thing, like, oh, it's no big deal. You just go every other week and a couple hours, no big deal. Oh, by the way, we need you to be the chair. But anyway, I've really appreciated both of you coming in and giving me your guidance. There's a lot of rules that I thought I knew that I didn't, and you've been very forgiving with me. Cynthia, I've enjoyed our conversations about DC and politics in general and your leadership on the policy subcommittee, so thank you very much. Much appreciated that. With that being said, it sounds like from the stack of blue papers I have in front of me that there's some more recognition coming, so I'd like to first offer Robert Grom. Can you please come up? Oh, and sorry, I should also note that we still have to keep to our rules. This is 3 minutes. We are not necessarily going to respond, but 3 minutes, please. Yeah.
I know the rules. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I wasn't going to say anything about the Concord Education Fund, but I did check the website just before I came over here. And Mr. Stone already gave us the numbers, which I'm always interested in. Since 1994, $3 million. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Excellent job. And I also appreciate the fact that, the fund is as nimble and as quick to make a decision, especially given what's happened in the last 4 weeks. That was very encouraging for me to read about and hear about. So thanks again for that also. That's very important. I also wanted to thank all the school committee members that are here, past and present. It takes a lot of time and effort to do an effective job at this table, as I found out between 2016 and 2019 for 3 years. And I've watched the school committee for probably 11 years pretty closely. So my comments are based basically on my experiences at the table and watching videos and being connected electronically. So many school committee members have contributed tremendously to this committee. And I want to just recognize and appreciate them. Some of them are in the audience here. And what my comments are going to be about mostly is Cynthia Rainey. I've known her for many years. I always appreciated her approach to problem solving. Whenever there was an issue that came before the committee, she would, again, judging from what I saw and what I heard from these meetings, she would do the homework before coming to the meeting. She would make comments concerning fact-based issues and ideas, and her approach was always balanced, which is very important because, you can ask too much, you can ask too little, but if you ask the right amount and go in the right direction, that's critical to the successful conduct of this committee. She knows the rules, as has been mentioned to some degree, and it's important to abide by them and going forward. So she also knows so much about the town and other committees within the town that have an impact on decisions that should be made at this table. So I am extremely grateful for her 6 years of service on this committee. And I hope the new members coming forward will likewise put in effort and engagement that Cynthia has shown. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
Thank you. Simon, do you want to come up? I think do you have to leave? I have yours next.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thank you for possibly taking me out of turn. I don't know what to say other than that the three of you who are leaving have so much to be thanked for. Wanted to come not in my official capacity, but as a parent, as a friend. Alexa, you have balanced being both a visionary and a practical leader to such a commendable extent. I was at an event with Jerry Moss and others commemorating the start of Spectrum. I mean, you started that. You were there like right at the beginning before any of those kids were really accepted in our schools. You started Concord Promise before anyone was thinking about that. Now, cell phones in schools is a major issue statewide here in the region. And you figured out how to do that while getting MECA representation on the school committee, as was mentioned by Tracy, while getting, with the help of many people and taxpayers, school built. Julie, I knew you as a friend first, and I can't say that about a lot of people who I've worked with closely, but you're just here in Concord, and you're just so amazing. We have been so lucky. Your tenure here is being kind of artificially cut short, but I know that you're just at the beginning. And Cynthia, you've been a rock. It's been really a pleasure. You've always been so responsive. I know your heart's always been in the right place, and particularly when there were some challenges around anti-Semitism, you were right at the tip of the spear of that. You stepped up, and I just really appreciate all of you. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Doc? Doc? Yeah, there you are.
That would be me.
Yeah, there you are. Sorry, I didn't see you from here.
Hi.
Hi.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Doc Fury. And I got scared when I was told I only had 3 minutes to speak. Because those of you know, when I get up in front of the classroom, it's going to take me 50 minutes. So to make sure that I stayed semi within my limits, I've actually written this out.
All right, get going.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so I am Doc Fury, and I supported Alexa in the last election. First of all, I would like to congratulate the new members of the school committee. I just met Sandeep during the election, but have known Mike and his family for years and had the pleasure and privilege of teaching his children. I'm sure that both Mike and Sandeep will continue to offer the same thoughtful leadership and support for the students and teachers of our excellent public schools that Alexa has. So if I know Mike and I know his kids, why did I support Alexa? Well, I started teaching and coaching and advising at CCHS in 1968. I left the classroom in 2015 and finished my coaching career 2 years ago. During those 50-plus years, I taught and coached and advised many extraordinary Concord, Carlisle, and Boston students. But there were always some who stood out for a variety of reasons. They were insightful, or they were achievement-oriented, or talent, or, to me, most importantly, caring and thoughtful. Alexa was all of these. Oh, by the way, for those of you out there who I've taught, or if I've taught your kids, you're in that group too, okay? Yeah? All right. So that's page 1. Now I got to go to page 2. When Alexa lost the election, Concord lost a homegrown treasure, a person who cares deeply about the welfare of our schools and has since her high school days, when she was a student government representative to the school committee and was the advisor, I was the advisor for 3 years. For 3 years, she worked tirelessly representing student concerns and helping integrate marginalized students. During this time, Alexa learned how to navigate the adult world, to win on some issues, to lose on some others. But most importantly, she learned how to find the middle way. These are the same skills that made her a success as a school committee member and a chair. Alexa, you made CCHS a better place when you were there as a student and continued to make it a better place as an adult. I thank you for all you have done for the students of Boston, of Carlisle, and of Concord. And Alexa, I can hardly wait to see your next incarnation.
Sandeep, if you want to come up, I have your sheet next. And then just so for efficiency, I have Heather about next.
I'll try and keep this short. Thank you, Cynthia, Julie, and Alexa, for your dedicated service to our schools and our community. Your insights and dedication to a community have left a lasting mark. Alexa, I'm blown away by your knowledge of issues and over the course of the campaign, answering any question that I had. As you leave the school committee, whoever comes next has big shoes to fill. You've helped shape a strong foundation for the future of education in our town, and we're deeply grateful. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Heather Bout, 52 Simon Willard Road. It's funny to be here in a different position. I'd really like to express deep gratitude to all of you for all you do, and especially to the three of you who are leaving, for all that you've put into this. As you know, I know what it takes to be in that seat. And each of you, Julie, you and I haven't met yet, but I have heard amazing things about you from the others. And so all year, I've been so grateful that you're here. So thank you for all you've done. Cynthia, you and I got to overlap for a while, and I will echo what Bob said, that there were so many times that you guided us in structure and what we needed to know, and so many times that you asked the questions that many of us didn't think to ask. And I've really appreciated that over the years. So thank you for all the time that you have put into this. And Alexa, who I know very well. Alexa and I only overlapped for a year. I was lucky enough to have that year together with Alexa on the school committee, and I was blown away by how dedicated, committed, visionary, and effective she was. And I think that's a really interesting contrast. Not everybody can be that. Oh, and yeah, funny. She always kept it light for us. But you are a rare combination of both determination and collaboration, which often don't go together, and vision and execution. And it's not often that you find someone who can do both of those things. You are really willing to take on the tough issues and yet do it in a sensitive way. And that's something this world really needs. And I really appreciate that. Alexa has poured her heart and soul and many, many hours into this job, many more than most of us will ever know. And we have been truly, truly fortunate to have her and all of you fighting for us this whole time. So we will miss you all. This town has been so fortunate to have you, and I express my deep, deep gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Maynard, and then after that I have Yumi.
Hi, I'm Cynthia's son-in-law, and so John and I just wanted to bring Cynthia some flowers to say thank you for all her time on the committee and all the work she did. We had an idea that some of the members would not recognize her, so we wanted to make sure to put our best foot forward and bring some flowers for Cynthia. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yumi?
Hi there. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this mic is right here. I feel slightly like I'm at the Academy Awards and everyone has these lovely speeches, and I wish I'd written a formal one with notes. But I'm here on behalf of Concord Community for Great Schools, just to say a big thank you to the outgoing members. I'll just say that since being involved with this group, and some of our members are in this room and online, I have such a deeper appreciation for the work that you do. I see the number of issues that you address, just the breadth of topics, and just the complexity that you face on a regular basis. I know it hasn't always been easy, but just a big thank you. It's just been such a successful few years that would not have been possible without your leadership. So to the outgoing members, thank you so much. And on a personal note, I'll say I've known Alexa as a fellow parent, and now I've gotten to know her as a school committee member. And she said once that she's a municipal geek, or that you love local politics. You said that, and I wasn't the only one in the room. So I hope this isn't the last that we see of you. So thank you all.
Thank you. One more, Wilson. I have yours, thinking that's the last sheet. I don't think there's anything online, so the 3 minutes are yours.
I gotta move it up. So I want to start with a quote that I found in thinking about tonight and thinking about the last 4 or 5 years that I've been involved with watching this school committee. And the quote says, "You make a living by what you get, and you make a life by what you give." And the school committee gives an incredible amount. And I want to talk about 2 ways that has an impact. It has an impact in what the school committee does to build a relationship with the administration. That administration has a relationship with the teachers and the teachers union, and those teachers have a relationship with our children. What you do here trickles down through that partnership and that collaboration and affects the lives of tens of thousands of children every single day. What we have in Concord is extremely rare. It's extremely special. We have an incredible school system, an incredible group of teachers, an amazing administration, and an amazing school committee that makes that possible. And for that, it's just incredible. I want to talk about those kids. The second thing I want to talk about is this room full of people. What's happened under Alexa and Cynthia and with Julie and this whole school committee is the community is involved. We're paying attention. We are seeing and just stand in awe of the tens of thousands of hours that this group puts in for Concord, for all of us. And now we're here, we're paying attention, we're involved, and that's because of this incredible cooperation and collaboration. So thank you for what you've done. If your life is created by what you give, all three of you have created an amazing life. There's more to come, I'm sure. Thank you very much for the students and for the community of Concord. Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone's kind words to all three of us. And I think, it's really kind of a funny thing. Brian and I were talking about this at the Carlisle town meeting was last week, or this past weekend, which I'll get into in my chair's update. But it is funny that, like you were saying, Wilson, about the engagement in the community. I'm moving to Concord, and if you're like, well, why do you have to give up your seat? I'm like, I am the Carlisle representative elected by the people of Carlisle, and when you don't live in Carlisle anymore, you don't get to represent them. And that's just a really important thing to know, but it is kind of funny to be moving to the community that I am on the school committee for, so and to have to give up my seat, but that is the way it is. All right, let's move on to the consent agenda. If anyone would like to leave, we won't be offended. But after that, we will go through correspondence, and then we do have some key updates. And if you can stay, I'd love for you to stay because there's a lot of really good stuff to share.
Did we hit 20 minutes? Because you have one online comment. It was.
We have 3 minutes.
So
yeah, we can do one more.
We can do one more.
I have to promote her.
And just a PSA, the Concord Town meeting is coming up the first week in June, and we have some articles coming up in relation to the schools.
Stay and listen.
Yeah, if you want to stay and
5
listen,
minutes
it's
away.
really great.
Adrian's promoted.
Hi, everyone. I want to echo what everybody said about your commitment to the school committee. I'm pretty good friends with Alexa. We did start Concord Promise together several years ago, back in 2017, and the amount of work that I've seen her do as it relates to the school committee. Our daughters are also friends, and it seems like she is always doing something for the town of Concord and Carlisle. So Alexa, thank you so much. Julie, I've gotten to know you a little bit through the district PTG meetings, and you're awesome, and I'm looking forward to working with you at Emerson. And Cynthia, I don't know you, but I know that you've been, I know you've been a mainstay on the school committee, and that you've had a great perspective that has been appreciated by the community for sure. I am probably the only one here to talk about something other than how awesome you guys are, because I want to talk about the cell phone policy, and I felt a little bit weird about bringing this up because everybody was talking about so many positive things, which is great, given all that the community has gone through in the last month or so. I think the school committee and Dr. Hunter have done a spectacular job handling that tragedy. I know it's been really difficult. And also the building of the Concord Middle School. I do have some concerns over how the district is positioning itself as thought leaders, particularly when it comes to the new cell phone policy. I feel like the new policy that was drafted and read last week lacks many meaningful changes, or really any meaningful changes to the one that is currently in the handbook. It's also not in line with the AG's bill. There seems to be a lack of understanding of this issue in our district, an issue that private schools in Concord, other schools in the state, other schools in the country, and frankly in the world are addressing with much stricter policies. I was speaking with Simon Cataldo recently, and he said that the problem is so urgent and the impact so profound in terms of student learning, mental health, and safety that this is not a topic where it's responsible to take a wait and see approach, which is why there were 12 bills filed in the state legislation this year. There's plenty of evidence at our disposal to conclude that the impact on students of having devices in schools is pernicious and severe. Schools have a responsibility to protect student learning, and this policy fails to do so. This is also a matter of financial responsibility. We're spending a profound amount of taxpayer dollars on education in the town of Concord. Student learning is negatively impacted by the presence of devices. We know that. And not adopting a useful policy is financially irresponsible.
I'm so sorry, but I have to cut you off. The time is up and I have to hold the standard to everyone. I'm really sorry.
Okay.
But thank you for your comments, and we heard, and it is on our agenda, obviously, as you can see. It's one of the last ones, but it is on here, the CPS cell phone policy at the end, and we will be taking, or I should say, the CPS, I will not be a part of that. CPS will be taking a vote on it later.
And Adrian, we all did receive your email at the superintendent and members of the Concord School Committee.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. All right, I am closing public comment. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. We just have warrants, CCRs, RSD, accounts payable.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I like when it's only one
Exactly.
short warrant.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Correspondence?
CPS, we got a couple of emails in about the audio in this room and how quiet it is. And then we also got an email about cell phones. It was pretty quiet.
We just had one FOIA request that we're addressing, and that's it with the region. All right, so I'm going to move on to the superintendent chairs and liaisons update. I'm going to start tonight, and I want to make sure we have town meeting. It's a regional school district. It's a funny thing with the amenities building in particular, but also our budgets are really important. So I'm going to give a quick overview, and then Brian, Tracy, and Alexa, if you want to go into it a bit more as the subcommittee for the campus completion. We had our town meeting in Carlisle on Sunday night. We had food trucks. We did a totally different way of town meeting. Brian was a part of changing that in our town, which was great. We had an incredible turnout, not only on site at the school, but also at Benfield. It was actually a really great night, great afternoon, I should say. So Brian, Dr. Hunter, Bob Connery, and I were present at the Carlisle town meeting. I want to express my gratitude to the Carlisle community for not only the incredible support that happened actually at town meeting for the Concord Carlisle Regional School District. I'm not expecting anyone to go back and watch it, but I will recap it and just say how appreciative I am. I know Brian shares the same, and Dr. Hunter and Bob. It was just incredible to see not only how many people showed up, but even the questions that we got were just for clarification, just an overwhelming amount of support. And the school budget and the amenities building were both approved in Carlisle, so it is now moved to Concord to approve if the building is to go up. This honestly marks a culmination, I would just say, of a year of remarkable support in the town of Carlisle that I am truly humbled by. It goes beyond the support for the warrants in the town meeting. The amenities building has been a topic of discussion for nearly a decade, but this year the need became especially urgent. We brought that to our CPC, Community Preservation Committee, if you're not familiar with it, and we really just started to stress with them the lack of ADA compliant restrooms, becoming increasingly evident not only from community member feedback that we did share at our town meeting. Brian did a wonderful job of expressing that. The fact that we're out of compliance, and really, like, the CPC in Carlisle just stood shoulder to shoulder with us at every meeting when we brought them concerns that citizens have brought up either in this forum or others about legality of using the funds for that, or concerns about the dollar amount. Between the town manager and the CPC and the select board was just incredible. And I just want to make sure that they're recognized. And I would also just say that just the compassion that was shown for the needs. I think everyone knows it's impossible to fundraise for toilets. We will fundraise for the track. And just the compassion shown to all community members. I've said this about 1 million times this year. The number one thing that comes in here is DEI. It's a really critical topic. I personally am very appreciative of the focus on that topic. I've expressed that. This is the I and arguably the E. When people cannot use the restroom at one of the largest campuses in town, it's a need that we need to address and prioritize, and we did that, and I thank the town of Carlisle for their support. I also just lastly want to just again express more gratitude to the finance committee in Carlisle. It was really humbling to see everyone come up to the microphones when the moderator was asking, is there anyone else that supports this? And people just kept coming up. So thank you. That is my update for this week. But I just didn't want to not make note of that because it was really, truly humbling. And we actually had a little bit of fun. So, do you want to add anything, Brian?
No, I was just going to say, yeah, it was a little fun. It was a little bit of the Julie and Brian show at one point. And the best part was when the moderator was not going to let me respond to a comment that I wanted to respond to. And Julie got up there, not in a school committee capacity, and presented it as a question.
Made up jump some seats.
And yeah, we were able to get that extra information. I think it was important information as well. And it was, the vote was, it was not unanimous, but it was just very strongly in favor. I would say roughly 3-1 for the amenities building. So, but also just to note that a final change last week was that the CPC is going to make this contingent on what happens in Concord. And so if it doesn't get approved in June, I think then the funds expire in August of this year, as opposed to the 2 years or 3 years, which was originally planned.
Can I ask a question about our town meeting? Who is going to be presenting the article, answering questions about the article? You?
As of right now, that's the plan, for me to do that.
We'll have, we have an agenda item later, right?
Yeah, we do have an agenda item. The reason I wanted to bring this up is that those are the questions that have come up the most is, well, I think people have said, well, Carlisle's money is just going to be in the bank. No, it's not. It's going to be in the bank until, like Brian said, until we find out what you're doing. And if it doesn't get passed, it is not. And we have said this, I would say 25 million times, that we are not going to get this approved in Carlisle next year. We have a police and fire station to build. We have another project that I know it's hard to believe that I'm really passionate about with schools, with the Highland building, which is one of our few historic buildings in Carlisle. The money is going to go to these other projects. This is the year to use the money for the amenities building, and I just cannot stress that enough.
And I did present the article at the League of Women Voters on Friday because Lori was doing prom preparations with the high school. And I think what people really need to understand is this is going to town meeting, it's a town meeting vote, and then it's a ballot vote. So there are a few hurdles for it to get passed. And part of my remarks, which I'm sure will be different with what Lori said, but I was very clear that for me, it really is about the legality. It is about protecting the district from a complaint. I'm not really sure why we haven't gotten one yet. The ADA, I mean, it shouldn't even be a question. It is ADA compliance, and I fully understand that Concord doesn't want to borrow the money, but we are where we are, and I think this is the time to do it. So just as a reminder, it will most likely be on that Monday night of town meeting for people that are out there listening with all the school articles. There's potential. It could go on to Tuesday. I hope that doesn't happen, but it's important for people to really pay attention.
For sure. And we can talk more about it in discussion. I think we should echo that again, for sure. Carrie, anything for you for the update?
Yeah, the only thing for me is that we have, the select board is putting together this land use working group, and I've asked a number of times for volunteer, and Tracy has volunteered to do it. So I let the select board know today, and they will be nominating her at their next meeting. So thank you.
Awesome. Great.
Thank you.
It's real good, a lot of work.
Yeah.
Any other? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Was this any other updates?
That's it.
Any other liaison updates?
So one thing I can't remember that we reported on, I think it happened like 2 select board meetings ago, but they do have a cell phone tower agreement with a vendor, and it should be installed in the spring of '26. this is, I'm sorry, at the old landfill, so it should provide coverage for the high school. And according to the vendor, all 4 carriers should be on the pole. So it just won't be one, it'll be Verizon and the other 3, I think, major carriers. So he was pretty confident that it wouldn't take that long to construct it, but just getting all the approvals through. So I'm sure there'll be more updates on that, but they seemed pretty optimistic that it would be up.
I certainly hope so.
It doesn't solve the downtown problem, but it should solve the problem on the campus.
When you just work in public safety, it's just still shocking to me that this has not been fixed, but I'm going to leave that alone. One other update before I pass it over to Dr. Hunter. I know there's some folks that have come through for the PTG. We had the PTG leader meeting this past week, another thing I liaison for along with Carrie. I just want to say thank you publicly to the PTGs. We thanked them when they were here last Wednesday. In any year, we're appreciative of the PTGs, but I would just like to say this year, the Teacher Appreciation Week coming, the timing of it is, especially at the high school, was just so incredible. Driving into the high school and seeing all those signs saying thank you was just, it definitely brought tears to my eyes. I've been going up there a lot, and I think we've said it before, but I know that the Concord Ed Fund and others have done a lot, but the Carlisle PTG did a tremendous amount. I just wanted to thank them again publicly. I think they brought a total of 2,500 snacks, 600 bottles of Gatorade up to the high school. And then I know a number of people brought it in for the teachers during Teacher Appreciation Week. So thank you very much to all the PTGs in Concord and Carlisle. So thank you. Over to you.
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
The Sanborn building is no longer. It is officially rubble and out of here. All the remediation was done, and frankly, we approved a pretty large change order, one-time change order, and frankly, I thought it was going to be much worse.
I'm going to bring you good news on the money at our next meeting.
Okay, yeah.
We didn't need all of it.
Yeah. So anyway, and then during our last CMBC meeting, somebody said it's a rough timeline, so they're going to put the fields in starting this summer into the fall with all the plantings, and then I think the fields are going to be usable in the spring because they have to let everything germinate.
No, it'll be the fall of.
Sorry, next fall.
Yeah, we need one growing season.
Yeah, whole cycle.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Okay,
over to you.
Just some highlights, some of which have already been referenced. I did attend the prom for a while, and I just want to thank the high school. We took extraordinary, careful efforts to prepare and be thoughtful this year to really try to bring a joyful night to students, and I think that was accomplished, and thank you to our amazing kids who really rose to the occasion, and I think we're able to relax and enjoy each other in a much needed positive environment. As Maddie mentioned, senior week begins on Friday, and then we have a week of activities with graduation culminating on the 31st. CMS held its first social in the new school right on the heels of the first concert last week. So just to see the building come alive with all that it's bringing for kids, both during the school day and after school, has been really great. A reminder of the open house and ribbon cutting on June 11th at 5 p.m. We're hopeful people will be able to come. DESE is wrapping up finally its audit review. It's not really an audit, it's a review for formative feedback to us. So they were on site today with a series of meetings. They're here on Thursday, and a couple of you they're on Zoom, Shelley? Yes. Yeah, they're now on Zoom on Thursday. So a couple of you are meeting with them. The town professional leaders, Carrie LaFleur and Ryan McLean, are meeting with them. They have a number of other focus groups, and that will conclude all of their data collection, and we'll be awaiting feedback and results from them in terms of things that we're strong in and things that we can grow in. Shelley is busily writing grants for deadlines that have come up really quickly. So she submitted a grant for the literacy program for the K through 3 yesterday. K through 2, 3 through 5 is due tomorrow. So we are putting in sizable grants for CPS to try to offset some of the cost of materials, and it will come with additional professional development. We know there's a lot of applicants in talking with our neighboring districts, but there's $8 million available. So we're going to remain hopeful that we will hear some positive news there. And just a continued thank you, the outpouring of support from the community in so many directions. within and beyond the community has just continued to be exceptional, and helping us all get through a really fun celebratory time to come over the next 2 weeks with this little bit of pain that's coming with it. And I think through everyone's efforts, we're going to find a way to hit that medium and really still celebrate the class of 2025 while honoring those we lost. So just another thank you. It's been really what mattered. Those of us trying to stay afloat are buoyed up by so much of what's coming in to us. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the superintendent evaluation. Before I hand it over to Alexa, I just wanted to say thank you to her for leading the effort. We were doing it together, and then I quickly got overwhelmed with other things, so I appreciate you taking the lead on it.
Before we wrap up recognitions, I want to recognize it was Tracy's birthday yesterday, and Tracy has had a very busy few weeks. I hope that we can all enjoy these cupcakes. I'm personally starving. Happy birthday, Tracy.
Wait, thank you.
Happy birthday, Tracy.
40 looks great on you.
I thought you were going to say 30. It's okay.
Awesome. But yeah, so thank you everyone for getting the superintendent evaluation completed. You should have seen all the summary that Alexa shared. And yeah, why don't you?
Sure. Okay, so thank you to everyone who participated, which was all of us, on the superintendent evaluation. It is lengthy. We have moved, obviously, to a more, please eat, a more traditional 2-year evaluative process, given the MASC and DESE's recommendation to do a 2-year evaluation for more seasoned superintendents. And so this review or evaluation is a little bit longer in years past because of that. So, that being said, I will not read this because again, it's lengthy, but I'm gonna hit some of the highlights. Overall, Lori received a proficient rating. I want to talk about, I subdivided the overview into the following sort of categories. Instructional leadership and curriculum implementation was an extremely positive area. I think the biggest highlights were the K-5 literacy rollout and the new CMS math curriculum. And I think worthy of sort of highlights, the K-5 literacy curriculum is something that is extremely comprehensive. It cannot be hastily rolled out. It requires large-scale buy-in, an extraordinary amount of planning and collaboration. So we really appreciate that you did take your time with this, and that you're going to do it once and do it right. Similarly, we were all fairly encouraged with the implementation of the new CMS math curriculum. I think it is really important to note that you address that because we had seen some declining scores in our MCAS just in those 3 grades. And I think, we all commend you for addressing these types of problems head on instead of trying to deflect and defend. And so we are very, very encouraged by this, in contrast to the literacy, ironically, the speed at which you were able to identify this. And again, I think this is a much more narrow focus. So, at times that you need to be nimble, this demonstrated that you can be. At times when things need to be more thoughtful and are more comprehensive, you also can do that. A lot of folks talked about equity and innovation, which aren't always 2 things that we put together, but I put them together because one, as Julie mentioned, even in her updates, I think equity is at the core of everything we do. And a lot of folks highlighted specifically the launch program and what we've done with, or what you've done with Passabilities. This truly is an innovative initiative. shown and demonstrated by the fact that neighboring communities are interested in tuitioning in these kids, and certainly that is never the intention of what we do, but the fact that you and your team were able to identify a need, create it quickly, and then do it in a way that attracted the attention of neighboring towns, we thought was a significant achievement. Crisis management and student well-being, we will get into where you are exemplary later, but this to me is where I think one of the quotes that I pulled from Andrew was best in class. This is, I think, truly, I'm sort of speaking on myself, but actually, no, I'm not. This is where I think there is broad consensus that this is where you shine. And this, you don't always think of crisis management as the job of a superintendent. You think about math curriculum and, making sure your teachers are happy. And those are well and very important. But the way that you have managed, and I can talk about even the last 5 years in my tenure, we arrived with COVID. We transitioned to managing newcomers at the shelter, another area where you are resoundingly called best in class, exemplary, extraordinary, leader in the state. These are all quotes from various evaluations. And then finally dealing with community tragedy. And I think my quote in one of these, I don't know if it's in this section, is what I've noticed is parents wait to hear what you have to say. They seek your judgment and your advice, and they trust you with it. And I think, I think you get exemplary in this category because I don't think most superintendents play that role in a community. And I think it's really important to highlight, especially to members of the Concord community who don't see precisely your relationship with the parent community. I think it is worthy of note. And again, the shelter we discussed. Professional development, leadership, and team building. Again, a lot of people talked about your work and transition with Shelley, how the way that they've seen you two collaborate in year one as being particularly indicative of success in creating teams and leadership. Again, I think another way you can look at this is with Launch, really giving Angel Charles, that you give your team the ability to have some latitude and bring to you what they have expertise in with their fields. And that is how great teams work. I think everyone across the board really recognizes that. Sort of tangential to that too. This was brought up several times. It provides a nice segue into our fiscal management and strategic planning section. I think your leadership and team building was especially evident, and this was talked about in a lot when the CCTA and CTA contracts were negotiated. Our contract negotiations last spring looked nothing like the majority of contract negotiations around the state of Massachusetts. Andover, Newton, these were towns very similar demographically to ours. Teachers were striking. Kids were out of school for weeks, if not months. And our teachers, it's a total exaggeration, but it felt like, we're all holding hands around the, table singing Kumbaya. It wasn't quite like that, but it was close. And on top of that, it wasn't because we, handed out these lavish contracts. These contracts were very fair, very reasonable, not just to the teachers, but to the taxpayers. And I think striking that balance and threading that needle is another place where you have exemplary and extraordinary skills. And again, all of these, what was very interesting was these were universal sentiments on really all 7 of us. It was just interesting. And then I think the biggest one too, I would have thought, to me, and I didn't even write this in my review, to me the big win was the union contracts. But a lot of other people, Cynthia, I think Andrew, and I just forgot to mention it in my personal review, it was the middle school building. You know, we had a project that was on time and under budget. We're looking at buildings now that are costing $1,000 a square foot versus our 600 and change a square foot. I mean, what we were able to do there was extraordinary. I managed the social media account for the CMSBC, and I forgot to post this one video. I should send it to you personally, where the project manager or one of the construction guys in one of the tours had nothing to say except unbelievable glowing praise of how hands-on you were and how instrumental you were in keeping this project on time and under budget. Middle school's construction and strategic projects, that goes without saying, very competent there. Communication and leadership style, another place where you really shined. I think people talked about your tone, your compassion, your ability to communicate using diverse platforms, whether it was social media or newsletters or these meetings. This was something that I thought was really interesting because the MASC touches on this all the time. Brian Watterson wrote that he's never surprised by district events because you're so clear, so transparent, and so upfront. And I remember attending one of the MASC conferences, and the sort of facilitators there in the session emphasizing a good superintendent will never let budgets go off the fiscal cliff or have these big problems because you're supposed to tell us. It might be incremental, it might be dropping breadcrumbs here and there, but that is an essential quality to have. So I thought that was just a really interesting comment by Brian about ensuring that is something that you're committed to, ensuring that we are well aware so that we are all productive in planning for the future. Then I closed, which doesn't feel great, on challenges and area for growth. Cynthia talked about doing a little bit more upfront fiscal communication with the school committee so that there's like a little bit better structure and forward-looking sort of planning there. And then there was a comment about deeper community engagement. And that was sort of really it. So I won't go into the commentary, but in your student learning goal, we believe you met those expectations. Your professional practice goals, you met them. District improvement goals, which were, the first one was around finance and operations. We believe you exceeded those goals this year. And then with the CMS, the supporting collaboratively and leading construction, we believe you exceeded those goals. Then the first standard that we rate and evaluate the superintendent on is instructional leadership. There were two areas of focus this year. One was curriculum, and the other was data-informed decision-making, ensuring that we look at data or that the superintendent looks at data to make the right decisions for the district. You received proficient ratings in both of those categories. Standard 2 is management and operations. In this category, we also looked at two areas of focus. One was the environment, to ensure that you develop and execute effective plans, procedures, and routines to meet the needs of our students. You had an overall rating of exemplary there. And then fiscal systems, it evaluates your ability to develop a budget that supports the district's vision, mission, and goals. That was another exemplary rating. So all over in standard 2, your rating was exemplary. And then I highlight in the formal review, some reasons and substantiation for that exemplary rating. In standard 3, which is family and community engagement, you were very close to an exemplary rating. But you ended up being proficient, and that focus was ensuring regular two-way, culturally proficient communication with families and community stakeholders. So again, proficient there. And then the final area that we evaluate the superintendent on is standard 4, professional culture. The focus there was in continuous learning. We want to ensure that you develop and nurture a culture in which staff members are reflective about their practice and use student data, current research, best practices, and all the things to ensure that we're getting good results for our student, and that was another area where you had a proficient rating. So I have asked Erin to attach this to the agenda so it's available to the public, and I'm also going to forward to her everyone's individual evaluations so that they can be made public as well. There's a problem a little bit with Cynthia's, the way it formats. When I see it on the phone, I can see your individual check marks, but it's not showing up that way on computer. So that's the reason I haven't uploaded everything, because it looks, depending on where you view it, that you've left it blank. But I know you haven't, because on my phone, for whatever reason, it works. So all around, I think you've had an exceptional 2 years. We appreciate your work. And I was really surprised is not the right word, but I was really encouraged that there was truly broad consensus from all of us about the way you've managed the district in the past 2 years. I think it should be extremely encouraging for both the Carlisle, Boston, and Concord communities. We are diverse folks with very different opinions on a lot of different things. And the fact that there was common ground in how you're working, I thought was very encouraging and should give a lot of peace of mind to our different communities.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any comments, questions? I did send an email. I did give you all the backup data that is available. I've shared it with all of you. And so just so that people understand, when the superintendent hit a very, very high bar, an average of 3.7, which in my mind, I was sort of viewing this as sort of like a GPA because it was on a 4-point scale. If your cumulative average rating was 3.7 or above, I gave you an exemplary. If anything below that, and you didn't have anything cumulative below a 3, which 3 is the grade that we're giving for proficient. But there were several categories where you were above a 3.5, but below a 4. So if anyone has any objections to what I've done, let me know. But I think what I've done is fair, and it is in keeping with how it's been done, at least in my tenure. So, but I did want to note that because there were a lot of 4s in there, but then they averaged to a 3.6, and you're sort of like, oh, I feel bad. But anyway.
And that was my only question, is just what has the committee done in the past? As long as we're using the same model.
It's very consistent. So
not year over year.
And haven't you done it the past 3 times?
I have.
I know. So
I'm getting good at it.
She's very good at it, and I think that this is
it's all on the drive.
Everything it's all on the drive.
Automated, and just pop it in.
And I even struggle with some of mine. I'm like, well, sometimes I want to do Proficient Plus, or whatever. It's really hard when you're only giving those 4 categories. And I just for the public to understand, I'm just going to read proficient. Proficient practice is understood to be fully satisfactory. This is the rigorous expected level of performance. And I do think that the majority of superintendents in the state, they are proficient. So when you do get that exemplary rating, I mean, it truly is exemplary. And to read, what we have to look at, a rating of exemplary indicates that practice significantly exceeds proficient and could serve as a model of practice regionally or statewide. And I do think that you are a statewide leader. You know, I wouldn't even call you a regional leader. You're a statewide leader. You are looked to in a crisis. There is no one better in the state than you are. When the shelter came in, there wasn't even a hiccup. I mean, you might have felt all the hiccups, but in terms of the community, there just wasn't. And that was something that was unexpected, that was thrown at you. The extraordinary work you've done in the past 4 weeks just cannot be underscored enough. I know you take this job home with you every day, and that's the piece that I think that the public doesn't always see, and the amount of time and energy. I mean, this district is like your children. I mean, you really do care for it like we are your children. I mean, not the school committee per se, but the entire district. So I can't thank you enough for your extraordinary leadership since you've been here. I am very grateful to have an experienced superintendent leading both districts. That's something that also doesn't happen. You know, nobody really wants the job of superintendent anymore. It is a difficult job. It's more than just being the CEO of a company. You're a CEO of an enormous organization, but it also is there are humans at the end of it, and I think that is the difference. And so your responsibility fiscally to really lead educationally and in instruction, but also care for the needs of everyone in this district, I think that is something that is just exceptional. You know, in COVID, the phrase was, "What would Lori Hunter do?" And I literally got on a text and I was like, "Are you serious?" Like, people are literally saying, like, "Should I go outside? Should I have a play date? What would Lori Hunter do?" And it really was a thing. Like, it sounds really cheesy, but people were looking to you. And I even think about, you know, I read so much of, I mean, I still read all your district bulletins and all of that. And I do remember having a conversation with you, and I was like, well, I actually read, you know, your What to Expect at a Funeral, even though I've been to a million funerals and wakes and all of that. And you kind of looked at me like, oh, you read that? I'm like, yes, people actually do read your communication, even though we're well informed on the school committee and all of that, but we still are reading what you send out. So thank you for that. I think your communication style is excellent, and just thank you just for doing what you do every day.
Yeah, and I would just add a couple things. I think even if you were to take the past 4 weeks out, I don't think my ratings would have changed. It just reemphasized and bolstered my opinion and everything. I think what's been really eye-opening for me, coming from Carlisle and spending most of my my life in Andover and witnessing that administration and also working for the town, you kind of form what you think. I don't mean to throw shade in anything, but sometimes I feel like when I'm out in the community and the questions that get asked, either because of things that people have read, you would never know. Like, sometimes I'm like, you know, that we're a top ranked school. Like, we're not, this isn't done. And I think the things that get put in the news, and it's no disrespect to anyone in here, don't reflect the work that's always being done. So I'll give you a couple of examples. Like, I look at things like AI. We've heard about cell phones, and we don't always agree on those things. And I have appreciated that you've let me sit in your office and debate those things with you. And we certainly can debate them here, but I've appreciated the one-on-one conversations and the open-mindedness to that, because those are the things that are shaping education outside of just what gets discussed here during public comment. Those are rich discussions and needed ones, but there's also other ones. I think that I will just candidly say that some of the comments that I've heard in Concord since moving here have been fairly upsetting, and I think we don't always get the voice on DEI right, but I really appreciated your support of me personally, but also for the kids in the schools. And I will tell you, the only thing that I've lost sleep over outside of what's happened over the past month is the YRBS results, and I don't think it's ever been really fully understood by the public, but I think everyone around this table understands it, and I just want to thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. So I know you have every single student, and I will say it in closing it, and I put it in my review, the DOT project that Brian and Katie did, knowing that every kid has somebody looking after them and that is a point of priority for you, I think just shows the compassion that you have as a leader. And I am just so thankful that you are at the helm.
And not to pile on, but bringing us back to more pragmatic things that continue continually astound me, as Julie likes to point out, sort of idiosyncrasies of Concord. What continually I have found perplexing, maybe disappointing about some of the way the larger community treats those of us at the table, you in particular. When I look at, and this was touched upon in many of the reviews, the fact that our budget increases are some of the lowest in the state. And I don't know, Carrie referenced, we need to do better communication with the larger community. And I think those are some of the issues that maybe you're touching upon. I don't know how to, apart from renting some sort of airplane and flying over Concord Center, I don't know how we can do a better job of communicating that. I mean, and again, that was at the foundation of why we started the Chairs Roundtable. We were meeting with area chairs, and the problems they were having, 9 out of 10 areas we don't have here. So I sometimes think in Concord a lot of controversies and problems get manufactured and created out of nowhere. And so I just want to, again, I think this review does in fact reflect the fact that our school district is an exceptional one. It's you are a leader in the state, and what we are doing here in Concord is for the good of students, is innovative, and is and creates good outcomes for our kids. And I think that can't be overstated and stated as often as possible. So I hope this review communicates that. I hope that people in the community read about it and look at all of our individual reviews as well as the summary one, because I think there's a lot of good data from all of us in there. So thanks.
Thank you.
Sure.
This is hard in public, obviously, but I'm as good as the team I have, and this is a extraordinary team that I work with at the administrative level right now, and one, frankly, I really worked hard to build. So to see that all we're all in the same boat, in the same direction, and moving the work forward, and that's from us as leaders to the teachers, to the community, and I think that's a lot of why we're doing the things we're doing. I wouldn't mind one less crisis to run if you could figure out a way to do a little less of that. I think we come out stronger on the other side of crisis, which, I watched too many districts implode over COVID and whatever budget, pick a crisis, and somehow we keep coming out stronger. And I think that's to everyone's credit that that's the way it's happening. I can only set a stage to a point, and the rest has to come from others. So I think of all things, the trust within the district right now is really high and strong, and that's really what's making us succeed at all levels. Once that erodes, things change. So thank you. This committee's support's been really, really important this year, as it always is, and I will enjoy reading those.
Putting them into our folder
with a big iced tea or something this weekend. So thank you.
Any other comments or?
No, just thanks to Alexa for putting that all together.
Yeah, it was a lot of work.
Thank you, Alexa. It wasn't a lot of work, just FYI.
For you, but thank you. All right, Carrie, you want to take us through the school committee evaluation?
Yes, I will do this rather quickly. I think this follows on a lot of the same themes as with Lori's. I think this has been a really strong committee, and I'm really grateful to the committee. We are up in almost all categories across the 37 pages of results. It's a very positive group. We gave really positive feedback of one another, most of I kind of broke it into areas of strength and areas of opportunity, and most of the areas of opportunity that identified were mostly from comments. The actual rankings were still pretty high, so even in that space, we're still doing really well. So just a few of the exceptional highs, policies, pretty much everybody said that this was an area of strength. We went through the whole book last summer. Goals, I mean, unanimously, Julie drove such an awesome process on goals and set a new bar for how we should be thinking about goals in the future. New member onboarding was even, but it got some good comments. Courtesy and respect was way up, and this was also noted in courtesy and respect within the committee with one another, and then also with the administration. Both were seen as significant improvements. Another strength was that most of us ranked all members are encouraged to voice opinions. It went from largely agree to strong. Most of us are saying strongly agree, which I think is a really nice growth. Members do our homework. We largely support, no surprises at meetings. 100% agree that that we have a bottom up approach based on needs to budgeting, and then I think one area that's both a strength and a weakness is that we saw growth in working cooperatively with other branches, especially in the comments of FinCom, and also in the comments it was noted that there's continues to be room for growth there. And then in the areas of where we can continue to grow, while we ranked higher, that we operate with a no surprises policy, it was still noted that we could do better at that, both from a chair and just general member perspective. I thought this was interesting when we're talking about whether or not we review the strategic plan. So this was flat, but I actually think we do a pretty good job of that with all of the presentations, but we maybe don't link it. We don't link it to that this is we're doing this presentation because it's about the strategic plan. We could do better at advocating for the budget as a committee. We could be better at a thoughtful PR plan for the school system. And one of the things that was noted was that the physical setting is not great because of the old building and the IT issues. So all in all, this has been a really great committee. This is our last meeting as this committee, but it's really nice to see the data show what I personally have felt, and just how strong and impactful this group has been. So thanks.
Awesome.
That was my overall review, but if there's discussion or questions or comments or whatnot, please.
That's great.
My only comment is I like doing it this time of year compared to the summer when I was brand new and felt like I couldn't really.
How do you evaluate it? Exactly.
So
yeah.
I hope we continue to do it.
Yeah.
In the spring.
So much better.
Much better.
Yeah. It made no sense. A new committee evaluating a previous committee. So, okay. Yeah. Good comment. Thanks.
And are these going to get attached on so they're public?
Yeah, I can send them to Erin.
Would you?
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for doing that, Carrie.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks everyone for filling them out.
All right, now we have the fiscal.
Oh, and sorry, just one other note on that is that these actually, Michelle did not participate because she was a brand new member, but these did include our MECO representatives, which is a new,
Oh, yeah.
a new part, which I think was really great.
Awesome. All right, next up is the fiscal year 25 CPS budget update.
So
I can preamble while you pull your slide.
Sure.
Yeah, so we just wanted to follow up on last week's comments about the impact of less homeless subsidy than we expected and the increased outflow of transportation funding to homeless that we will eventually be reimbursed for. This is a CPS discussion, so we'll ask Carlisle to just bear with us for a minute. We're running really, really tight to close. Bob's gonna give you the numbers to go with that. I have formally frozen the budget as of late last week, which for us means no one can just put recs in and we're gonna click buttons through, even if it shows they're in balance in budget. They must come to us ahead of time. I told the administrative team this morning, any remaining balances they see aren't actually theirs. Bob's gonna have to sweep them all and use them towards the bottom line. So the good news is
May 20th, and hopefully we don't see too significant impact of that, but it's got our anxiety up, I guess, to the transparent part. Like, it's got us a little more anxious than we would have liked. So I'll let Bob take it from there.
So the easiest way to explain why we are where we are is to show you the chart that's on the screen. And to explain, I think visually it's easier to see the impact. We incur expenses. The shelter opened in around April of 2023. We incurred $76,000 expenses between April and June at the end of that school year. We in turn received that money. So the green all relates to the same flow of expenses. Where we spent $76,000 in FY23, we get money from the state in the form of a reimbursement in FY24. And then through the town, we worked out a mechanism to have them appropriate that to us in FY25. The funding that we get reimbursed happens pretty late in the year, so it's not really, the town would want to see it first before they appropriate that. But you can see right now we're in FY25, and we're incurring $344,000 this year, and we don't have any of that factored into our budget. The only amount that's in our budget is the $78,306 from the first year we opened 2 years ago. We incurred $70,000 rounded up. It's pretty much $70,000 last year that will be factored into our budget in 26, and $344,000 is the current estimate for this year. It kind of skyrocketed this year with the shelter closed. So this, in part because of more students, and as students
they're leaving now.
They've left, they're deciding they want to come back to our, and they're allowed to stay in Concord, and they want to finish the year here. So that's the biggest part. We did expect when it opened that it would be closer to the 300 number, and last year was kind of an anomaly. It seems like it was kind of a little bit more stable.
They all moved in
last
and
year.
enrolled, I think, is what happened last year.
Yeah. So, but that 344 is really why we're over budget this year. And we will get that back. So as these come back to us, so we have $69,000 that'll be added to our budget next year. That'll help us replenish circuit breaker a little bit. We don't anticipate having any expenses next year with the shelter closing. And then in FY27, the $344,000 will come back to us. But in the meantime, we have to manage with where we are, and I'll explain a little bit about that. So the safety net we've had with circuit breaker carryover reserves has been eroded. At the end of FY24, we had $630,000 in circuit breaker carryover. The maximum you can carry over is one full year of circuit breaker. It would have been about $840,000. So $630 was a healthy number. This year, we're anticipating in a typical year, we can offset some surprises from other parts of the budget, and we can manage it to an extent. We've had some things happen this year that we didn't plan, and we made decisions to forego other things. But offsetting $344,000 and some of those other things is just not feasible. We did think that we were going to get more funding from the homeless grant, $104 a day, but with the change in the formula, where students who moved in earlier, the general assumption was they're going to not be in the shelter long term. The intent was for it to be a short-term shelter. So they didn't offer reimbursement for students that we had and we were educating. But because of how long they'd been there, they were no longer eligible to be reimbursed. So we're getting less grant funding this year. We still will get enough grant funding to cover costs of ELL teacher at Willard, instructional aides at Willard, and some other costs, but not enough to give us enough budget relief to help offset some of this. So we'd like to be, closer to the $630,000 at circuit breaker. Spending it down to $400 is why we're kind of a little bit outside of our comfort zone, but we're doing everything we can to manage the other parts of the budget to keep it at that level.
So maybe I just missed part of it. So are we expecting, I'm confused, are we expecting a full reimbursement? Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the reimbursement rate ranges like 90 to 100%. So if it's a little bit less, it's a little bit less.
We're confident that over the next 2 years we'll get that 700-ish thousand.
The 344.
340. But it's over 2 years. We got next year's, and
We'll have zero. We'll get, it'll end after this year. So the 344 that we receive, that we'll have spent in 25.
Yeah.
And the second row across is when the reimbursement's received. So the money comes in to the town in FY '26, and then through the town meeting, it gets appropriated to our budget in FY '27.
We won't have it for 2
Correct.
Yeah, it's
And that's the challenge.
towards our operating
The
budget.
timing, that's the
Yeah, the issue.
challenge.
So we'll have some, not deficiency, but we'll have some reduction. But we expect to be able to replenish it in 27, is that the idea?
Correct.
Okay.
It's just managing it
So
properly.
it's just, yeah, okay.
I mean, we'll look into, I don't know, that right now, there's no way to do it that I know of, but, I mean, it would be nice if we could pull that 344,000 into FY '26, but I don't know that there's any mechanism or way to do it. You know, we can appeal to DESI to get the reimbursement earlier, but I don't think that's likely.
And when we talked about the shortfall in the reimbursements last meeting, it was on the $104 a day, not on the transportation.
Correct.
So transportation is
Correct.
guaranteed reimbursement, whereas the per day per student is not
It's a
necessarily
legislative formula set here at the state level.
guaranteed. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Different funding sources. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So we're going to be fine. It's just a little different than
Just a
what we thought.
and
Yeah, it's not as
will
comfortable as we would
require
like.
consistent messaging to remind people of why.
Correct.
And if there were a shortfall, could we ask the town for free cash to cover it until we got reimbursed?
I don't know.
Look at that.
Is this?
We brought that up when we initially saw this problem coming 2 years ago when the shelter opened. I don't know that we conclusively reached that because they then supported, you know, our warrant article for the CPS budget has all this additional language. So they supported that. There was some work at the legislative level during the first year to get the reimbursement back more quickly.
Yep.
So we had a different cadence to it, a different pace. That's all. I mean, it's federal money, so there's less. The state just doesn't have total control over the distribution. So I don't know the answer to that.
Do you know what they're doing in other towns? Do you know if other towns are doing it that way?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, we have
It's the same issue everywhere.
It's the same issue
obviously.
everywhere, right, right.
The first place, we have 400,000 in circuit breaker carryover, and we spend that down before we would ask the town.
Ask the town for
Yeah,
it.
that's
Okay.
our
Okay. Okay.
that's our savings. So we'll just keep you posted. I'm hoping we can end a little stronger than we're anticipating by freezing the budget and be a little less concerned as we go into FY '26.
Thank you, guys. I know it's not easy.
It's great. All right. Thank you. Thanks for your patience. No problem. Just did a couple work emails. It's great. All right. Amenities building update. Want to have a discussion about this? I think, Laura, you wanted to say something first? Yeah, I think I just wanted to frame the conversation. We've spent many years now talking on the amenities building, and there always seems to be sort of this curvy road we weave with the subject and the different directions it takes, especially here in Concord for some reason. And it's great to see it coming to fruition in Carlisle through those discussions. I just wanted to remind everybody that, you know, this was a warrant article that we started conversation of in the fall of '24. I'm getting a lot of feedback that I don't disagree with folks in public enough. I was adamant it was the wrong timing to bring this up because we were coming off the heels of the middle school to the chairs behind the scenes. The response I got was, we're out of compliance and it's urgent because we're out of compliance. I'm not going to argue with that. So my job is to get on board with the school committee's goal to move a project forward. So that's what Bob and I have done since then. I think we all realized over the course of the 23 to 24 window that we didn't have enough information. In the meetings we were attending, we were getting asked questions we couldn't fully answer. We had ideas of where to go. We didn't have a design. We listened carefully and heard that we needed to go get that information, and then a year ago this time withdrew the article to allow time to do that.
What Bob and I did after that was to propose to the school committee last spring that the road project had some additional funds we hadn't expended, and could they be transferred over to get the design moving before the communities had funded anything. So that's what happened. We've been in design all of this year, and I think it's worth reminding everyone we took the vote to do that and queued up the bids and the process for the design over the summer. So I know CPC keeps coming up. I don't see how we could have met that September 8th deadline for CPC. I was driving hard to it for the Thoreau project because we had been working a year back to get to that. I don't see how you could have. You wouldn't have had the information for the application. We certainly appreciate their interest in hearing the project sort of while we're in mid-process on design, but without having all of the answers. So I kind of can see why that's had its ups and downs. It was, square peg in the round hole for some portion of time. I think the work we've done with the design team and Gale Associates in the past year needs to just be recognized. You have almost 100% design in hand now. And to the point, I don't know, you sort of just said it in my evaluation, you're not seeing how much time, the community's not seeing how much time we're putting in to vet that with Gale, make sure we're coming in. We have picked the lowest cost possible option. Every time they bring us options, the only question we ask is what's the cheapest thing to do and still meet the goals we have. You literally have a cinder block building and no frills at all. It looks like a cinder block building. They're gonna kind of paint it the color of the high school so it fits the aesthetic, but we have trimmed everything back to the lowest costs possible to still be in alignment with ADA compliance needs that we are certainly out of compliance with. And people do file OCR, Office of Civil Rights complaints. I manage those when they get filed. I don't think I can explain why no one's filed one on this because it feels so blatant. Your plumbing inspector here in town has not cited us on it. He could at any point. We are not in compliance with plumbing code. I just feel the need to say plumbing code requires plumbed bathrooms, not compostable, anything like that. There were some comments made recently that was potentially a direction, which is why the sewer, which I'm going to get to in a minute, hadn't come up yet. That wasn't in the goal because we would never have met plumbing code. We've had a lot of work done on the updates to plumbing code, and we're currently in work now to get the actual variance you need for the sinks, because while the plumbing code changed for the toilets over the last 18 months-ish, they didn't change for the sinks, so we still need to go to get that. It's why you went from initially 44 toilets to 22, which would have been the 50% reduction. You're now able to get all the way to 17 because of the changes in the code for these stadiums, especially not used very often. Like the plumbing board, I lived a plumbing board change of code for the gender neutral things we worked on in the middle school. That does not happen overnight, plumbing code changes. So a lot of work and thoughtfulness went in on the state level to try to alleviate the demand on school districts that were facing exactly what you're facing. So we're working with Gale now and the Board of Health has to be part of the waiver that actually is on the agenda tomorrow. We met back in January, I think. We had a call with Elizabeth Hughes, who coordinated all of the town professional leaders, or at least their delegates, on an extensive meeting to talk through all the permitting. And this is a lot of work that often goes on behind the scenes. The entire middle school permitting has had little bits of public, but there's a lot of behind the scenes that has to go on with the town leaders, many of whom issue permits on their own and don't have necessarily boards required to do it. Never does the permitting just check, 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 and we're done. I think the sewer conversation coming up when it did is just unfortunate. It feels like it's become a distraction to the discussion, which hopefully we can mend here a bit. Not because it's not a real thing, it is, but because it's not necessarily going to be the obstacle that it's being talked about, because we do this all the time, where we work our way through what's required, what do we need. Now, all of that's been stated very openly, and that's not a bad thing, but I think the response has been really adept and quick to say we'll make our way through the concerns, and we actually have the funding to deal with whatever cost is associated. That wouldn't have been the case a little while ago if E&D hadn't had a little unexpected revenue. So we're continue to pivot really quickly here. I think the other small concern I have with the sewer piece is the 1 day a year with graduation there is, I think, the biggest point of concern. I'm just struggling to figure, I need a little clarification about why that's the tipping point to the capacity.
In the building or the
Right, if graduation was inside, we'd be still facing the same things without any permitting discussion. So I don't know if we've been in the right forum where there's a conversation going on the practicalities of the question. And I haven't been able to attend any of the meetings. Most of them have happened over the last month when my attention needed to be elsewhere. I guess my hope, and maybe I'm talking so long, is because I'm hoping the community can find a way to get on the same page about this project. 1.4 million, Carlisle secured the funds, which was an very important first step. I just think it's time to move forward, and now, 2 years into the discussion, we've named a liability to the district and the town that we aren't yet having addressed. Costs are only going to go up. We know that. We're watching that in all our neighboring communities when they put projects out. And I just hope we can get into town meeting and that next level. I know FinCom approved it with some concern and margin there that wasn't overwhelming. I know select boards deferred that, and I think, how do we get from here to town meeting in a way that maybe can be more collaborative? I think that's been the goal I hear from every organization. We saw some great positives come out of FinCom this year in order to successfully make budgets land the way everyone was hoping. And I just wonder what missing piece there is here. There's just a lot of public discussion going on right now about little pieces of the project. And everyone's got their own niche, I understand that, but where do we get back to the big picture of the needs of the project? And I'll just finish by saying, I said the same thing to this set of chairs in the fall as I did to this set of chairs before. The timing's wrong. We need a smooth, easy year of politics to get through and show we're here to be collaborative. And the same answer came back with we're not serving the community well. So I don't think we want to be faulted for that. Because that's the only goal, is to serve the community well. And every time I'm on that field now with a big group of people at a football game or whatever, which isn't the tipping point for the sewer, by the way, it's the graduation that is, I'm scanning the audience for who's there that's going to struggle, because that's the lens I have now, and that's the work you've done over the last 2 years, is the anxiety is real about, okay, is that grandfather going to be able to make it, or one of our young people comes to watch, and what's that exercise, to the point where I wish I could fix it, and then I'm like, am all I going to do is gawk, or am I going to find a way to try to make it better? So I guess it's a little plea to sort of get back to the big picture as a community. This is the place to start that, and figure out what our next steps are. We've got 2 whole weeks less to town meeting. If there's any outreach we can do, we're willing to, whether it's the Public Works Commission or the Select Board or otherwise, but how do we get on a path that might lead to some success so we all just move on, do what community needs?
Great. Any other?
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Any other comments, discussion, questions?
So I think that, town meeting is a budgetary, basically, it's voting money. So I think it'd be helpful if we have the latest budget. I don't even know if it's changed.
We're expecting the 100% number imminently.
Great.
The design is done and they're wrapping up the costs.
I think people are just numbers oriented.
Yeah, sure.
And so if we have the latest budget, what it includes,
what
questions we have outstanding, and then what we have in our capital stabilization fund, and how that would work. I don't think it's terribly complicated what we need to do to push this over the finish line. And I just don't, everybody's very busy, I get that. So I don't want you to overpromise when you can have this information available, or it will come in pieces, or what have you. Just, I don't want the expectation to be it'll be available tomorrow for the health committee meeting, or it'll be available, if it's available. I think Select Board is doing their meeting, but if it could be available by the end of next week, that's before town meeting, right?
Yeah.
That would probably be something that would work. And I don't think we have to do anything more as a committee, unless you would need another vote from us, but I don't think so. So that just, I think people need to understand the mechanics if we needed to dip into that capital stabilization fund,
Sure.
what that would entail.
Yeah.
And I don't, sometimes people get confused. It would be a town meeting vote, but it's not because it's a regional committee, a regional. Right. So I just think if people are clear on that, and we are where we are, and we cannot magically make CPC money happen. That still will come up. And we just need to be very clear. And I think the moderator is clear, everybody's clear about that's not, somebody can't go up to the microphone and make an amendment to the CPC budget.
Well, there was some discussion at the League of Women Voters of some other options that people would have for CPC, and actually they were unanswered. So, and Carmen was there too. So I know Keith Bergman had a couple questions about. He's like, why can't we just make this happen?
Right.
So I do. He's very knowledgeable, and I think that I'm going to send an email and include the chair and probably you, Brian, to kind of like set that meeting up. I think it's meeting with as many people as we possibly can to think creatively about this. I do think that, like, for me, it's super personal.
Yes, I get that.
I know.
Yeah.
So let me just finish. So it's very personal. This is an ADA issue, period, end of discussion.
Yep.
I have, you can go back and watch the league recording, but, I had a grandmother from Boston that literally could not get in to the porta potty at the football game. That is very real. And it took about 10 minutes to get the athletic director to drive her up because the game was over. If it was during the game, that could not happen. And, when we welcome people to our campus, we want to welcome them to a campus that is accessible. It is part of your strategic plan, which is why I definitely have pushed you so hard on this. And this is a school committee ask. Like, I think sometimes Lori gets the brunt of this because it's the district asking for money or the schools are asking for more money. We're asking for an ADA compliant bathroom, period. It's a very basic need, so, I feel like I'm always on the soapbox on this, but it is very personal for me. I've had a parent have to leave graduation. Like, that does happen, and people are looking for complaints. Brian did a good job at Carlisle pulling public comment that we had last year from our meeting of a former student that was in a wheelchair, and his mother spoke also. I mean, these are very real things that we might not get them, in public comment. People don't want to come and profess, the issues that they've had on our campus. We might get them through a phone call, through a text, through an email, whatever it is, but it's very real, and I do think it's just letting people know about town meeting. I think it's really challenging this year with town meeting being in June. Parents in particular are a little bit checked out in June. I think that people are exhausted given, just what the spring has looked like, but it's important for people, and I think as a school committee, we can get out there to our networks. We can advocate for this at town meeting. It is our responsibility to advocate for it. We all voted for it. So to really, get the message out there as much as we can. I'm glad to have people in the room tonight that can keep on spreading that message. It is not about, a locker room for the football team. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about toilets, sinks. That's it. There's no heat in the building. There's no nothing.
I think the other thing that is worth noting is that one of the things that I'm having a hard time with is people in general. I mean, I think Cynthia's idea is a great one, and I think we should put together like an executive summary, so to speak. I feel like we've done it, but we should do it again, if that's what we feel like we need to do. I think what's really hard is that people want to have proof, and they want it in the form that they're comfortable in, and it's 2025, and not everyone is filing a formal complaint, number one. Number two, most people don't really understand town government. I'm just going to say it. It's like I said before about why I'm not, like, what do you mean? I don't understand why you have to step down. I don't think people understand the proper way. So they're turning to like Instagram, Facebook, and their Reddit, and we're not equipped as a municipality to respond in that way. So it does come in ways that Tracy's mentioning with word of mouth and comments, and those should hold weight. And I think that's been my frustration when I've gone to multiple committees that I have to advocate for this program is. They're like, show me the formal complaints. And I look at like what Alexa and I did when we met with FinCom about special education. Like, these families don't want to put themselves out there. Nobody wants to say that my mom had an accident in the bleachers and then file a complaint with their name tied to it. Like, come on. We're not going to have people to do that.
Central to our DEI work, that's why we have anonymous ways to do things. So to say it's okay for some subgroups but not others, I think is at the heart of people not really understanding even how to get equity right. But
I think it's also just like why you have elected officials, and honestly just, and not even just us as elected officials, I think there's other people in the community that will bring things forward to us, and that should matter. So I think when we go as an elected body to numerous boards, we shouldn't have a wall go up between us when we're making this ask on behalf of constituents, because it's not in the form of formal complaint with somebody's name tied to it, especially when it comes to accessibility and toileting.
Well, I don't, like, I feel like this is what I say all the time. It actually shouldn't even come down to a complaint because it is the law. It is the absolute law.
Yes.
And
How
so
we think we're
it
so
actually
important that we don't
doesn't
need to
matter
comply
if
with the
somebody
law, but
puts
we
their
try.
name. Yeah, exactly. Right. It is the law. We have to have bathrooms at the stadium. Right now we have porta potties, which is like a taping or a Band-Aid on the problem, and it's insufficient. It's been insufficient for too long. So, but I think we all agree on that. We've all voted in support of the project, and now I think to Tracy's point, the next step is to get it out to our networks. Because
Brian, I know that you reached out to several different groups looking for support. Did you have any success on groups that would be natural allies here?
Within Concord, I did reach out to some groups. One group did encourage me to attend, but it was really just to make a comment in public comments at the end.
So no.
So ultimately no. That said, just because the Carlisle piece is done, this has been like my 2025 dissertation in a way. If there's ways of outreach that I can help with, by all means, I'm happy to go talk to groups about this.
So I guess too.
Maybe your podcast, can you share the podcast? I mean, like to Julie's point about, how people get their information. Carlisle has a podcast about this. You did a poster session about this. Like, there are other ways that maybe people will take it. And maybe we put the flyer at town meeting. I know that the book has already gone out, but there is the ability to also bring a flyer or to have a QR code to link to that flyer that you made for Carlisle.
The poster that we used in Carlisle, I mean, it's designed, you might as well use that.
Yeah, that's
We should
great.
probably be putting stuff on your social media just to remind people.
Agreed.
And the other thing I was just thinking is we keep saying we need the parents to come out to vote. We do have a population here of graduates who are 18 and who I'm sure are registered voters.
Yes, we do.
In Concord, I would hope they come out as well.
Yep.
I mean, and I think about the advocacy for accessibility at the Thoreau Playground. I recognize that those families are not yet at the high school. But the amount of fierce and dedicated advocacy they had on behalf of their children, this is not going to be a problem that we can continue to kick down the can kick the can on because it's convenient, and we don't want to be the big bad committee that forced the town to borrow $1 million. Like, I don't see that group of parents or other groups of parents who are, again, as we become more diverse, as we tuition in more kids because our programs are so outstanding, the idea that this solution is going to be sufficient for children, and couple that with the costs, when I think about, we could have built 3 schools for $90 million, 15 years ago, and now we've built 2 schools to the tune of $200 million. This bathroom is not going to be $45,000 when these families get to the high school. And it might not be the 7 of us sitting at this table, but to me, I am proud to be at the table saying that this is a reality. And I think that, again, I really hope the town in general sees that message. And, again, whatever we can do to ensure that that message reaches people, I think we need to do it. And I love all of Brian's ideas that you guys did in Carlisle, I think can easily be brought over here. It was obviously successful, so.
Yep. Yeah, and I think my ask to the town is just, like, we keep going back to the same things that have been answered, and I think this is where we are. I spent more time in Concord CPC meetings than Carlisle CPC meetings. I spent more time at Concord FinCom and select board meetings than in Carlisle. I don't know what the pushback is. I have an idea, but we've answered the questions, and I think the reality is really what we've said around the table tonight, and we don't need to keep restating it, but I could answer the same questions over and over again, but they're going to remain the same, and I think the urgency is there for a million reasons.
So I disagree with you a little bit. I have heard nobody ask me about why we need it, where's the complaint? Yeah. Nobody, not one person. I think there's just confusion about the numbers.
I agree.
You can clarify that. I really don't think there's going to be a problem.
But that's what I'm saying. I agree with you, Cynthia, but like, I think what I'm worried about is that there's the sentiment that it can push a year. But as long as Carlisle is footing part of the bill, it can't. I've heard that loud and clear. So it's this year or not. Right. And I don't think people like that. They literally are looking at me saying, no, the money's still going to be there. No, it's not. Brian just explained it. It's not going to be there. And I think the CPC conversation in Concord, we'll approve it next year. Great, but you didn't approve it this year. And that's where my frustration is, and it's coming back to, well, you didn't get it in on time. Well, there's a million reasons why it couldn't. I could give a whole dissertation on the timing in a regional school district, but it doesn't matter.
I don't think it matters.
Right? But it's not up to me. You as Concord residents and me in a few weeks have to go to the CPC and the select board and say a change needs to happen, especially on school projects.
It would be better to have them aligned, I agree. The timing is not good. It's been like that for 20 years. So.
But that's been everything at Concord. Everything's been here for like 20, 100, 500 years.
No, I'm not saying
it's freaking exhausting.
Asked to move it. I don't think it's always just been that way. So,
welcome to Concord.
I've asked, and it is what it is. And I don't want to. I've said it before. The burden of saying no as the last person is hard. I'm not trying to shame the CPC. I'm just saying I think some changes needed, and I think this is evident. We will disagree, and that's okay.
And I think it's up to, at this point, it's up to the town. It's up to the residents of the town. And who are we as a town? And are we a town that wants to make the town accessible or not? I heard at the league, a paving project that's going to happen on sidewalks to make them accessible. That is who we should be as a town. We should be doing this as a town. So I think just that is the very clear message. Beyond anything else is who do we want to be as a town of Concord?
Right. And I agree with you. I think
I hear you.
You will get, I can't even direct people to find the budget. Where are we now? The sewer thing I don't think is an impediment to town meeting because that will be decided after town meeting. Right. We have the money, whether it's $300 or $20 or $80,000 for the hookup. I don't know. We don't know right now what it's going to be.
And this might be where, I agree with you in theory. I think where we might disagree is I have been lectured like I am a school child about precedent in the town of Concord.
Precedent for what?
Of everything, of deadlines, of rules. We're not going to move. We're not going to change. That is what has been frustrating for me, and I'm just airing it. It's my last meeting. I'm just telling you how I feel.
Your experience.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just. That's why I think people get more stuck on precedent than on I agree that most of it in town meeting does come down to numbers. I am fully agreeing with you, but it comes down to where are you going to put your money?
Yeah. Well, we break precedent at town meeting quite often. So.
Absolutely. A lot of money goes out the door in 5 minutes, and then
stuck on $1 million.
I mean, we got stuck on fighting for $120,000 last year on a school budget, and millions of dollars went out without discussion. I'm like, who are we? So
I agree.
I think for reference right now, and thanks to Brian who worked with Aaron in my office, there is some information on this website that I think is a good starting point for referrals. If we can keep culling this and pull out numbers more, and that it's there. It's just not listed as a standalone item.
You're expecting a new updated budget. Is that what you just told me?
We actually don't think it's going to. The 90% estimate was very on track with what the numbers have been the whole time. So we think it's going to hold. We just don't have it formally on paper at 100%.
Are we not applying for variance to reduce the number of bathrooms?
We are. It's the sinks only. The bathrooms. The code changed for the toilets, so we don't have to apply for anything.
I thought we were going down to 6 and 7 or 5 and 6 or something.
17
is the new plumbing code. We don't have to apply for that. We have to apply for a variance to reduce the number of sinks.
And that's what the Board of Health meeting is for Wednesday, is to get Board of Health support for that, which helps with getting the state to approve it.
And the numbers assume we are going to receive the van.
And just for clarity, the 17, like, that's the minimum number that
That
we
is
can
the
have.
minimum number.
So there's no variance or
On the
anything.
new code.
On the
That is
new
it.
code.
Correct.
That is
the
it.
new
That is the
code.
minimum.
And the adjustment made following the new code.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, on that website, the idea was as we had more materials, we'd continue to.
Yeah, so Bob and I
just
can,
asked Erin to put the poster
oh, good.
on there, because I think that serves the purpose.
Great.
And if we can get the recording of just the amenities building, because it was combined with all
Yeah.
Carlisle CPC, I just asked Ryan McLean if I could get just the amenities building, and we can put that up as well.
And the 90% estimate is publicly available information on the website. Yes or no?
I don't know
So
if
if you
it
go
got
to the
posted.
school committee
can
tab,
be.
you can go to then the amenities building,
Mm-hmm.
and then the project details are on there. So you have pretty much, the FAQ document that we approved is on there.
The November
renderings are on there.
report, we don't have
But
an.
not the 90% estimate.
There's a spring.
We can update it. I don't know if we put that most
Yeah.
recent.
We can get something.
That's a good first step.
Yeah.
No, and I think Cynthia's good feedback. The website is good feedback. All my point is we just need to, I just want to make sure that we distill it down to the facts. I think you're saying the same thing, Cynthia. Like, let's just get everyone an executive summary of the facts so that people can make an informed decision and stop the swirl. I think that's my summary. And I'm sorry I'm so frustrated, but it's just, it is what it is. I'm spending a lot of time on this. All right. Anything else? Sorry.
Don't apologize.
It's fine.
All right, action items, CCHS trips. We have the girls varsity soccer team bonding to Camp Marywood in Orford, New Hampshire, and hiking the U.S. national parks.
So I move to approve the girls varsity soccer team building trip to Camp Marywood in Oxford, New Hampshire? Is that
I
Orford?
second that.
Sorry,
My daughter
Orford.
went to
I can't remember.
camp there. Mari knows.
Any discussion, questions?
This trip is done every year, and it's a great bonding experience, so thank you to Coach Fishalis.
It's a beautiful facility.
All right, all in favor?
Aye. Thank you to Coach Fisalis.
Thank you.
Another year.
All right, non-union raises fiscal year '26.
hiking.
Sorry, hiking the U.S. national parks. Sorry, I said that all at once. I thought you had put it together.
So this is a Q5 trip for 2026. You can see I'm really appreciative of the staff efforts to come up with new ideas that are both either domestic is great and less expensive. So Lauren spent a lot of time on this. We had a lot of chat with her about what she wanted to do. So I think this sounds like a fun trip, and we're hoping you'll approve that.
Looks great.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So I move to approve the hiking trip to the U.S. national parks.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion, questions?
I realize I don't know what my child's doing for Q5 this year.
I know. Well, no, they haven't gotten those.
Oh, they
yet.
haven't?
They
I'm
have
like,
not
wait, why
gotten
would you
them
have
yet.
told me? It's
They've said they've ranked
They're
their
coming.
choices, but finishing them.
There are
what the
theories
choices
as
are, I just don't know what
to
he's
when
gonna
they're going to get them and why.
No, I know, I'm excited.
It's exciting.
Yeah, I read this. This is a great trip, and I appreciate the domestic. We had a very robust conversation about international versus domestic conversations in Carlisle the other night. So, all right, vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we move to non-union raises fiscal year '26.
This is what we discussed last week. Great.
Do we just make a motion?
I think we need to say what they are in public, though, first.
It's a 3% raise for all non-union for next year.
I move that we approve the 3% annual raise for non-union personnel as discussed in executive session last week.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you.
Great. All in favor?
Yes, for both, right? This is for both
Yes.
districts?
For both.
All right, I'm going to turn it to Carrie to go over the CPS cell phone policy.
Okay. So this is a second read on the CPS cell phone policy. We have had several conversations. We've gotten lots of emails in about this over the last several months. And we all know that we all understand and agree on the dangers of cell phones and devices in kids' hands, in particular in school, where it can be a great distraction. It can lead to higher rates of anxiety, depression, and lots of mental health issues. So this policy is aimed at two things. One is to help reinforce what's already in the handbook, that from K to 8, cell phones are prohibited in the schools. And I think the question, so we devised it, we talked about it. I've been thinking about this a lot over the last week in particular, since our conversation last week, and certainly over the last several years as this has become more and more of a pressing topic. And I think I'm really comfortable with the policy that we talked about a week ago. I do want to revisit one piece of it. From my perspective, I would just like to strengthen it slightly. I think Alexa said something in the last meeting that really stuck with me, that this is a good policy, but it doesn't have any real teeth to it. And so I've really been reflecting on that and what that means, because this really is such a consequential problem in our community, and not just here, but everywhere. So I have been thinking about that this consequential problem really ought to have a more substantive response. So I don't have an answer, but I have a suggestion.
Can I just ask, can we attach this to the agenda too? Because I think it wasn't attached.
No, I know.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Just so people can see it?
Yep. Okay. So this is the policy that we discussed last week up on the board. I would like to recommend that we just change in the second paragraph where it says students may not use, display, or access their cell phones during these hours while on campus, that we change it to students must not be able to access their cell phones during these hours while on campus. So it's a minor change in wording, but I think it could have a significant impact on implementation. So that's my one thing. And then I think my second question to the group is, are we going far enough by stopping at cell phones, and should we include
I have an amendment.
Apple Watches? Sure. Well, I haven't really made a motion, but I'm just talking. Okay. So those are my two thoughts on this. I'm really excited we're doing this. I think it's really important. I think we should make a couple adjustments and consider as a committee adding in Apple Watches. Go ahead.
Does somebody want to make a motion? Otherwise, I can't amend it.
I think we can just discuss it first, and
Sure.
I mean, yeah.
So, yeah, I like the change you're suggesting, and I think I was the only one at this table who attended
I missed it.
the cell phone discussion where Representative Cataldo was a speaker last week. I actually didn't attend. I moderated it. But something that I didn't know, and I've had exhaustive discussions with Simon, and he said something that surprised me that he hadn't articulated to me in our myriad discussions on this, that I think is worth everyone at this table knowing. He said, he is, I'm going to paraphrase here. So he said, I am throwing my weight at this legislation, and it is my sincere hope that my districts of Acton, Concord, Carlisle, and Chelmsford, and the school districts therein, help me by leading on this issue. So, I know Simon does a lot of work for us. He's an exceptional representative. He has your ear, you have his. You guys are really good partners. So as we think about this, we all know where I stand anyway. But that was just something I thought that was particularly compelling that I thought people should hear.
So Carrie, what does it mean when you say must not be able to access? I think that needs to be clarified. What does that mean?
So I guess that's a question to the group. What does that mean? But I think more so that's a question to the administration on how do you uphold a policy, because we are not required. That's not in our lane.
Yes.
So it's up to the administration to say, how do we comply with this? How do we ensure that our buildings are complying with this policy?
Because I think that's really important. That's important for the Metco kids that are going to be traveling and
Well, so this
and that's not our job.
But this also does exclude traveling. So on the buses, that's not included in this. Okay.
If they're having it while they're traveling, then what do they do with it when they go to school?
Correct. That is the end, and then what?
I mean, can it be complying could be, it has to be in their backpack, right?
Yes.
And so that could definitely be the compliance issue, like may not be displayed, it has to, every child brings a backpack to school, correct?
Yeah.
So every child brings a backpack, because I do think even, it just doesn't come out. And so you can use it on the bus, and then you have a place to put it immediately, you know what to do with it, and then you get off the bus and you're good. So that would be something that I think, is definitely feasible and manageable for the administration to deal with and for principals to monitor, for teachers to monitor. Because if it's in your pocket and you see it's like, put it in your backpack. The rule is backpack, whatever the rule is that your school sites decide.
Yeah. And I think too, it still gives your admin team the latitude to interpret the policy. What I have always teetered on with the policy is written, because again, I said, I think this is a pretty good policy. I'm like 85% of the way there. Last week I said, I didn't think it had enough teeth. I stand behind that. But what I think this subtle language change does, that, Carrie's our word guru, it gives it a little bit more gravitas, teeth, with still preserving your ability to...
Are you on the one I'm sharing? I made a copy at one point.
Oh, yeah. Could you put it in red?
That's what I was just going to do. I'm in the wrong version, though.
I'm going to share it with you.
So again, I think we're preserving our ability as the two bodies, the school committee and the administration. We're still staying in our proverbial lanes. But, my concern was, you want this to have the gravitas that meets the cultural moment that we're in. And I think may is like a cute little suggestion. May I have this, or dinner? Yes. Versus have this dinner. I think so. To me, again, we're still preserving our jobs, but I think the way a parent, a teacher will read, a parent or student will read this has a little bit more of the gravitas, I think, that meets the moment that we're in.
Just one weird word question. Must not be able to access their cell phones during these hours while on campus?
Yes.
So define these?
No, bell to bell. So defined as the time from the
second paragraph.
Right, she's referencing the above paragraph.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you read it, it makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was just
Can't read
reading
it in
that.
isolation.
I read that one paragraph separately, sorry.
You got it.
Let me go back.
So that's that. I guess the other question that I had was, are we going far enough with cell phones? I think at the middle school, I think actually at the elementary school in particular, the Apple Watches are becoming more and more of a concern. And so I would love to see us either change the language to device and define what device is, or add in like wrist
smartwatches.
Smartwatches, yeah.
Communication.
And as long as they're in the backpack, I don't think that a big deal.
And again, I understand, you can't see that I'm
connected. No, I'm saying, but if it's in the backpack.
Like the watch. No, take your watch out.
No, right, but I'm saying, but if it's in the backpack, we are still upholding the policy, but saying there's no access to it.
So you can wear your watch on the bus and then you put that in your backpack.
Yeah, the same way you put your phone.
Right.
Leave it at home.
I don't have a problem with that.
Do with this what you want. The administrators felt strongly the watches were a whole nother level of challenge to enforce. And less of an issue in terms of disruption. You can only do so much on your watch. It's not going to give you
this. It just vibrates on your.
I know, but I don't. I'm not.
When Susie's grandmother gives her the Apple Watch for Christmas, and she's so proud to show her watch to someone to tell time. I don't know. I do think it's a lot of enforcement and management.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know.
But is it one of those things where, think about this.
Can you tell if I have a watch on right
That's
now?
what I'm saying. Right now, you can't. But if I were to go like this and you saw it, you could just put it in your backpack.
Then you've got some kids with it on and some with it.
Well, and
depending how good you are at hiding.
I have lived through dress coding. So dress coding used to be a thing in the middle school, and it does not. There's not a dress code now, correct? At the middle school, no dress code. So it would become a situation where the teachers, it's like, okay, well let's look at this outfit. Is this appropriate or not appropriate? appropriate.
Well, it's a
Now,
watcher,
who's-
it's a smart
it's a
watcher, or it
watcher.
isn't.
I know, or it isn't, but it is management.
There's a lot of
and
those
it does-
cheap ones that look like smartwatches that really don't do
They aren't.
much of anything.
know.
I just think it's going to be much harder for us to manage. We would prefer to focus on the cell phones right now. We're talking about different ideas at the middle school for what to do here to strengthen it, or whatever word you want to use. I don't want to get distracted from the direction and discussion we're having there by then trying to figure out how watches are going to fit in, because it's not going to be the same process, I don't think, from what we've talked about so far.
Well, so the legislation will include.
It includes watches.
It does include watches?
Yes,
Okay.
it
Okay.
absolutely does.
the
So it's
wording
coming
that's-
anyway.
It's coming,
It's,
exactly.
do you want to be a leader, or do you want to wait? Because it's coming.
And I also I think I've been thinking about it from that lens as well. Is this do we want to be a leader? I mean, we've heard from, in so many ways, from your evaluation to this committee, this is a town where we have been leaders on so many issues, and I feel like this is one where we have an opportunity, and I
don't want to come up short, and then you all say you didn't do what we told you to do, Lori, so I'm worried about the watches.
Yeah.
Well, so
We'll try our best.
So, yeah, and, well, and I think,
decide to put
I
it
think it's going to, any change, oh, sorry.
I want to say your event last week.
Wasn't my event, I was asked at the last minute to moderate it.
The event you attended, I meant to say, because I wasn't unfortunately there. I didn't really want to go. Was based on the series Adolescence, or it referenced it, correct?
Yes.
And if any of you have seen that, it's quite disturbing. And a student could sit there with their watch and see a very disturbing text, right, during school. And that's what I, as a person, want to eliminate. That kind of attack or stress that, so what if we miss a watch or two? But if the culture of the middle school and the elementary school is that you do not come to school with it on, or you leave it in your backpack, I think in the long run, that's what parents want.
Yes.
They don't want their kids to be tortured by some awful thing coming up on their watch during school, even though it might be nothing, but to them, it's everything. And it can ruin their day. They're not going to tell anybody. They're not going to share it with the counselor. It's just going to eat away at them. So as much as we can reduce that at school, then it's up to the parents what they do in their home.
Well, I'm going to push back just a little, and you put in whatever you want, and I will do our best to do it. But we spend more time at school cleaning up the stuff kids are doing on social media at home than what they're doing during the school day. And that's where I get upset by how much we're being asked to take on. The other 18 hours a day are the bigger problem. And if this doesn't become part of the discussion, the kids are coming into school upset already because they're getting bullied outside of school, and we're still responsible for managing it.
Oh, and I am your ally on that.
Let's find a way to have that conversation if we're going to do
We're going to go here.
I think that's
100.
I think
yes,
that has to
please.
be in tandem. Yes, yes. But I think where we have control is what happens in school.
I know.
We don't have the ability.
And
to
it might
control how
help to
parents-
create a culture.
Yes.
And so if we can be proactive partners and leaders in that, I don't think that's a bad thing. And I also think too, is September going to suck with enforcement? Maybe. But it's a couple weeks, and I think the long-term dividends could be extraordinary. I mean, to your point, the buzzing and the whatnot all day, I think does distract kids, and
Arguably more than a cell phone, frankly, but.
yeah. Well, and in any event, so I am not opposed to adding smartwatches while fully acknowledging that you might not get it perfect.
Immediately.
And immediately, right? And I think with any kinds of large-scale changes, whether it's literacy or smartphones, there has to be a little grace. There has to be some understanding that it's going to take time. And I think that's the spirit in which we entered this together. And but ultimately, I think eventually it's going to be a good thing.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to, and you keep saying be a leader, be a leader. We were leaders in this and having the first protocols in place for cell phones 2 years ago, anywhere in the state, to the point where I was invited to the Board of Education to talk about the caddies at the high school. I get a little frustrated that we act like we suddenly fell all this way behind and we're not doing enough. We've had protocols in place that we are enforcing. I hear you all telling me they're not coming up strong enough and they're inadequate or whatever, and I know the high schools is a whole other thing to talk about, but we are doing it. So the Apple Watch will be a noon thing to figure out if you add that. But I just get bothered that I don't feel like we're really capturing that we've been doing this the whole time. So enforcement and protocol of how we do it is still going to be a challenge no matter what direction we pick. So the policy I've always wanted and been in support of, it gives us backup to put it out to the community and be like, this is what we're doing. You need to help us. Because
and
without that message, we're in this uphill slog that we're not going to win.
And I do feel like that does need to be said. Kids are not allowed to use their cell phones during the day.
They're not.
Kids are smart. They figure out workarounds, just like the caddies at the high school.
Right, but you don't make murder legal just because some people can figure out how to get a gun.
No.
No, but
my
I've just heard
point
too many
is-
times that we're not enforcing it enough.
I know.
And
I didn't suggest that. You
I know,
did.
but that's
You
a
did, honey.
metaphor, honey, and it's like
Well,
not
but
a
I
great
think
one.
that I look at the caddies. Are there kids that bring in an old cell phone and put it in the caddy? 100% they do.
Sure, but it's still, but it's still a good policy.
It is.
Become a
It
culture
is.
shift. It's
It's a
changed the
culture
culture.
shift.
And I actually think that the more I've been thinking about this, that like when you look at these 6, in particular the middle school, 6th to 8th graders, these are the people who are going to go on to the 9th to the 12th grade. And as we have a discussion about at the high school, so if we've already worked to talk about to change the culture with higher expectations, watches and whatnot, I think that will only like reap dividends at the high school as they grow into that. But so that's my.
And can I just say that 95% of the kids are complying with what we ask of them.
100%.
Absolutely. We have great kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Wait till Harry gets an iPhone. Beware.
Won't be till 8th grade.
What?
Not till 8th grade.
Not to like freak me out. Never. Anyway, so did you have an amendment, or does some of this discussion satisfy your amendment? Do you want to read your amendment? What do you want to do?
No, I'm good with, I'll compromise that. I had the earbuds and AirPods, but, I'll hope that staff knows that that's another workaround and they can decide to.
So I guess cell phones and smartwatches that's what we're talking about. Cell phones
Cell
and
phones,
smartwatches.
smartwatches, and the language in the second paragraph.
Yep.
Okay, so I move to approve the Concord Public Schools student cell phone and smartwatch use policy as amended this evening, shown on the screen.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right, just to reiterate, now that I've re-entered the conversation, that was just for CPS K-8 grade.
Thank you for staying with
We're
us.
not part of that.
We should have let you guys go.
Oh, yeah, you should go.
I asked her.
We wanted to finish it out with you.
We have it's not on our agenda, the thing.
Oh, yeah, CMLP. I did that last week, too.
You don't want to ever talk about this.
I know, sorry. All right, Lori,
I'm going to actually defer over to Bob. We're asking you to consider voting the CMLP agreement that we mentioned, I don't know, a week or two ago.
So the agreement's linked on the May 13th agenda. I think there was a version circulated that had the marked up version. The clean version is on the May 13th agenda. This has been something I've been in communication with Jason Bulger on, and he may actually be on here in the event there's any questions. This relates to, the scope of this is for the panels that will be on the roof and the canopies in the parking lot. It does not relate to any battery storage that we would potentially have. That would be a separate agreement. We had got feedback from Mina, legal counsel from the town, to look at it from both perspectives, since it's an agreement between two town entities. And we incorporated some suggestions that he made. My perspective, the one issue that Jason and I struggled a little bit with is their standard legal agreement for these types of things. A commercial entity would have some language about liquidated damages if we decided to discontinue them having access to the roof or something like that. I could not, in my role, agree to anything that would cause us to pay $10 million in liquidated damages or something, whatever, some large amount. So ultimately, this is a town decision to do this. I said we should just take out that, we can only, will only, if there's cause, not permit you to have access to the solar panels. Like we built the building to have the panels. We don't need to say we can just rescind it because we feel like it. So I took that out of the agreement and with that, he took the liquidated damages out of the agreement. So there was a compromise there on that. The rest of it talks about how to access the site. It's kind of their standard agreement. I read through it. I didn't really have any concerns. Since it's an intergovernment agreement, we thought the school committee should approve it. And the CMLP board wants to have this in hand before they go forward with any procurement. And then we would come back later. There's some decisions they have to make on, I think their priority is the roof. The canopies might be second. If you don't do the canopies, you don't need a battery backup until you build the canopies. So this agreement covers the canopies, but the timing of how they sequence things, the next thing that would happen is if they decide to go forward with the battery and the canopies, they would come back here. We'd have another agreement about the battery because there's some concern there about risk, and we might want to talk about placement. There might be newer technology. We might ask for, maybe it costs a little bit more for newer technology. There is some issues with grant funding that may, with the current administration in Washington, have expired or not longer be accessible. But so the short-term plan is they need this in place in order to move forward with their procurement for the panels on the roof at the new middle school. So I know that was a lot, but hopefully that helps.
Bob, I have a question.
Yep.
Are there any roof warranties in place that exclude putting these panels on it?
There are not, and these are not drilling through the roof. I talked to Jason about that. There is, the technology is they're on the roof, but they're not mounted in a way that they need to go through the roof.
And you'll be leasing them and they'll be maintaining them? You'll have a PPA for maintenance? Or?
I think they'd probably be buying them. I don't think they'd be leasing them. They're separate owned municipal light entity, so they'd likely be buying them. But that's their decision. That's not ours.
Okay.
And their financial payback is better to purchase them. And then in terms of how they get serviced, I don't know. But we're not responsible for that. We're just a passive host,
Yes.
right? We're getting a $1 discount a year. Anyway, just a joke. It was all built into, as part of this project. It's something we wanted to do. Yep.
So the good news is the town council reviewed it from the perspective of the town and the school, correct?
Correct.
And he feels like everybody's in a safe position.
Yes.
And not vulnerable financially.
Correct.
Okay. Got to go with the experts on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, we worked out it, and then we paused and said, let's let Mina take a pass at it after we had worked out the business part of it that we thought was important.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you for all your work.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
This is
So I-
complicated
Motion?
stuff.
We have to approve it, though, right?
Does anyone want to make a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve the solar license agreement between the town of Concord and CMLP. Right?
Second.
Great.
I don't have it on my, we don't.
Well, I could say I approve.
It says by and between the town of Concord and the Concord Municipal Light Plant. Yeah, that's fine.
Is that fine? Are you-
I think that's
I'm going to take my motion off the table, and I'm going to make a motion to approve the solar photovoltaic system license agreement by and between the town of Concord and Concord Municipal Light Plant.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye. And that is it?
Great. And I just wanted to say that I appreciate you guys including me, but really, Julie, Alexa, and Cynthia, you've put in a number of years to Town of Concord, so one last thank you to both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank
The meeting
you.
is adjourned.
Woo-hoo. All right.
Thank you.
Great.